busiest airport in the world.
I was already looking at my dot by that point.
Behind a guy who can't go 90 knots. Oh, I'm supposed to turn now, but half the runway's behind me.
So you want to land in front of your friend?
I want to land in front of my friends.
They're like, what?
Fly through the thunderstorm. That's the year that my plane turned into a submarine.
There'd be total chaos.
This is like not a normal maneuver. And look at this.
I took it as like a fun challenge, you know? I would've been bummed.
You can always go around.
Hey guys, it's Matthew from Sling Pilot Academy. This week we're going to be talking about the Fisk Arrival. We sit down with our Chief Paul, who has a lot of experience flying into Oshkosh, as well as Bryce, one of our CFIs who flew in for the first time this year. They're going to tell you exactly what the Fisk Arrival is, they're going to give you some do's and don'ts, and they're going to tell you what their experience was like this year flying in. Enjoy the video.
My name is Bryce. I'm a flight instructor here at Sling, and I flew in the Sling 2 with Jen over to Oshkosh.
Hello, I'm Paul Storsley. I'm the Chief Flight Instructor here at Sling Pilot Academy. I flew in the Sling TSI with Rula, and then we flew in formation with Linda and Shannon, who were in the Sling Highwing. In order to get into Oshkosh, it is the busiest airport in the world for that week. And really, we're talking Friday, Saturday, Sunday are the days where it's even the most busy, because you've got these mass arrivals and all sorts of, planes coming in. There's always weather. What they do is they set up an arrival procedure so that everybody can sort their way into getting into a line. Sometimes it starts as far away as 50 miles. Sometimes it starts out like at this town called Ripon. Everybody comes in and you find a plane to get behind, and then you get behind them and you stay. It used to be a quarter mile behind. Now I think it's a half mile behind, and you just get in behind somebody, fly the same speed, the same altitude. At Ripon, you're looking for the grain tower. And the grain tower is like a grain drying plant, so there's like some smoke or steam that comes up from there, and you just go straight for that. And that's also where they load the grain into trains, and then you follow the railroad tracks from the trains right outside of the grain drying plant. And you follow that northeast to the town of Fisk. And then at Fisk, that's where the controllers are with the binoculars. That's where they talk to you. To me, it looks more like a crossroads from the air. I've never actually been there in person to see the air traffic controllers. I see them on the ground every time.
I was already looking at my dot by that point.
You can see them down there in the trailer, and they had an audience. There were like 20 people sitting in lawn chairs watching the controllers.
Oh, wow.
And there are 4 controllers
see that.
sitting there in their pink shirts, and you see 2 of them up there with binoculars.
The controllers were just on the ground.
They're on the ground outside of a trailer. They are air traffic controllers from different towers, centers, and TRACONs, terminal control areas all over the country, and they apply to become one of the Oshkosh controllers. And then they have to take training to be an Oshkosh controller. The faster planes will fly at 2,300 feet above, and the slower planes will fly at 1,800 feet below, but they all have to land on the same runway. So that plane at 2,300 feet will end up diving down, picking up speed, and then getting in where they can get in before the airport. And I've been behind a guy who can't go 90 knots, plane in front of me peels away, and they go back. Next plane peels away, goes back, and then I'm right behind them, and I'm just gaining on them. And I just have to pull out, go back to Ripon, and rejoin. When you get to Fisk, then they'll sequence you either to runways 36 or 18, that's the south runways, north-south runways, or runway 927. My preference is always 27. In fact, this year they told us take runway 36, and I was with Linda in a flight of 2, and I kind of jumped on the frequency and said, "Hey, can we get 27?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure, we'll give you 27."
High wing and a low wing, just about a 3/4 mile south of Fisk. Are you guys in flight?
Yes. Flight of 2 Slings, high wing, low wing. Request 27.
Turn right heading 090 due east, follow Fisk Avenue. You're going to enter that left base for runway 36.
We would strongly prefer 27.
All right, you can continue to follow the railroad tracks northeast. Just watch out for that aircraft ahead of you. Maintain the present spacing. You're going to enter a right downwind inside the gravel pit for runway 27. Maintain 1,800 until in the downwind. Use caution for departing traffic. Monitor tower 118.5. Welcome to Oshkosh.
Marry me.
Eventually, when you get downwind, which is a beam where you're going to land, they'll tell you, "Hey, turn base at the orange dot, land on the green dot, or turn base at the numbers, land on the orange dot. So they tell you where to turn and also where you want your wheels to hit the ground. And by the way, turning a base leg like, you know, a third of the way or halfway down the runway, it's not normal, just visually. Like, oh, I'm supposed to turn now, but half the runway's behind me. But if you practice it, you know, you can do it just fine. One, because it gives you a downwind, so if they need to space you out, it does that. And also, I camp like with the same people every year, and we camp right next to the green dot. We are part of the show, and we watch the show right in front of the green dot, and we watch everybody land. And so that's where I camp.
So you want to land in front of your friend?
I want to land in front of my friends. Notam used to be Notice to Air Missions. No, Notice to Airmen. Then they changed it to Notice to Air Missions. I have no idea why they call it a Notice now. Half the people call it a Notam still.
Yeah, it's a guide. So it has a section on just about everything you would need to know to get into Oshkosh and fly in there like safely. It has like stuff for VFR, you know, flying IFR. It has stuff for seaplanes, for helicopters, ultralights, and then turbine aircraft. So it has a section for everybody. Everyone's gonna have different instructions or different procedures in getting in. So you kind of have to like read your section. It's got, you know, 30 pages of information, but you know, like for us, like the most important information is just 5 through 14. That's the VFR arrival. No, I checked it out like when I knew I was going to go to Oshkosh, because, you know, I was all excited. I started, you know, learning about the Fisk Arrival, and that's obviously one of the most fun parts about going to Oshkosh is flying that arrival. I watched every video on it.
I think I've flown to about 15 Oshkoshes. The first time I flew to Oshkosh was in 2004, and it was about a week after I got my private pilot license. Flew the Fisk Arrival. I actually got to fly it. I flew with a more experienced pilot who'd been there before. I learned more flying to Oshkosh than I did through my whole private pilot curriculum. Like just that one trip from Los Angeles to Oshkosh, I learned so much.
Did you know what a Notam was at that time?
I did know what a Notam was. I had a good flight instructor, Bob Reimer, thank you. The Notam has changed over the years. Like I mentioned, it used to be quarter-mile in trail. Now they've started to make it half-mile in trails, a little bit better spacing. It used to be that everybody went to Ripon and you would have planes from every which direction like arriving at Ripon at the same time, and you'd have to sort yourself out and people would cut each other off. So what they've done is they've put some checkpoints before Ripon, Green Lake, Puckaway Lake, and even Endeavor Bridge, which is like 50 miles away. And so when you listen to the ATIS, they'll tell you, hey, everybody's arriving at Green Lake now. So that gives a little bit more space to sort everything out before you get to Fisk.
I think they ended up kicking out the guy who cut us off eventually, because he did peel out eventually and have to go back around. They probably kicked the person behind us out too, because when he cut us off, we had to slow down. So, you know, we kept that half-mile distance, but the person behind us probably, they're like, what?
Now with that we have ADSP, you can actually see the other traffic on your screen and with your eyes. Well, I would recommend when you fly the Fisk Arrival, you fly with two people, because somebody's got their head on a swivel looking for all the other traffic, and somebody else has to be making sure that everybody's following the procedure properly. Yeah, I've had everything from go-arounds to IFR where they sent me through the red. And I'm like, can I divert 20 degrees to the left? And they're like, no, fly through the thunderstorm. Really? That's the year that my plane turned into a submarine. It all happens, and it's all in the Notam. Know when the Bonanza arrival is, know when the Cessna Mass arrival, the Mooney Mass arrival is, because when that happens, they'll close down runway 36s. And so everybody will be coming into 27, which means that it'll be super saturated and there'll be a lot of traffic. I'd just avoid it at that time. When it's too much traffic, you know, hold over Rush Lake, or hold over Green Lake, or hold over Puckaway Lake, and you just hold.
They don't want you to talk to them because there's just so much traffic. If everyone was talking to them, you know what I mean, it would be total chaos. As you approach Fisk, once you get like a mile or so away, they'll ask you by your aircraft like type and color. They'll just say,
Low wing, half mile south of Fisk, rock your wings.
You rock your wings to acknowledge them, and then they'll say,
Good rock, low wings.
and at that point, they know that you're in communication and you're listening to their instructions. And then they'll give you some kind of instruction. They'll say, continue up to the gravel pit, or they'll say, for our instance, they told us to make a right turn. and we also got a good right turn. So we got good rock, good right turn.
Start a right turn heading 090, follow the east-west road, enter left base runway 36. Good turn. Thanks for the turn, monitor tower 126.6. Welcome to Oshkosh.
So I'm talking about, baby.
And then we followed the Fisk Avenue, which was an east-west road. And from there, they gave us a left base turn to runway 36 left. And then they told us what dot to land on.
Low wing over the highway, runway 36, yellow dot, clear to land.
That's
Yellow
us.
dot. Okay.
I was with a flight of 2. I was the lead plane, and I did the wing rock. So here's the thing. When you're inside the plane and you rock the wings, like, you know, you're used to flying straight and level a lot of the times. This is like not a normal maneuver. And so you go like this and you think, oh my God, I like really made the wings move. But when you're outside of the plane and you look at that, it's kind of like, oh, did they get hit by a gust of wind? You know? So I like to accentuate the wing rock.
High wing and a low wing, half mile south of Fisk, rock your wing.
Rock.
Good rock, good rock.
You continue to follow the railroad tracks up into the gravel pit. You're supposed to stay inside the gravel pit. And I was talking to my flight, you know, on a air-to-air frequency to make sure that they saw it, I saw it, and she was following me, and we just went and turned our base.
Turn in base. Green. Yep. At or after the green dot. That was my speed. You good? Perfect. 77, 76. Perfect, you got this.
Yeah, I practiced a couple of times. On like as we were further out, I was practicing quite a bit. I've gotten a good rock every time. The only time I've been.
This time I was flying as a flight of 2, and you know, our flight was actually going to be, they were inside of us, so they turned their base first, and we were supposed to turn our base around the orange dot. I think we ended up, yeah, about maybe near the orange dot. And so they turned first, we turned second, so we'd land kind of behind them. We don't want to, you know, end up turning into them, right? So they turned first, we turned second. So they landed first, based at the orange dot, touched down at the green dot. They did a great job touching down at the green dot. We touched down at the green dot, and then when you can, pull off into the grass. And a lot of people going to Oshkosh aren't used to landing in grass or taxiing in grass. And you know, you practice your soft field landing technique, but a lot of times you simulate it and do it on pavement. Well, grass has a lot of drag. So the second you get into grass, it's like the plane really slows down. So you gotta end up giving it a fair amount of power to keep the plane rolling, stick all the way back, and you really need to have it all the way back.
When I landed, we hit that dot, and thereafter they said, okay, go ahead and turn into the grass. And I kind of thought they said like, just turn the next taxiway that was like coming up. Because I'm not used to turning into grass. That sounded like, did they mean into the grass? Like, it doesn't sound right. But like after I made that turn, I realized I was like, you know what? I saw other people turning into the grass, and I was like, they really meant just turn into the grass.
And then they say, you know, turn left into the grass, follow the flagman, welcome to Oshkosh. And when they say welcome to Oshkosh, man, good job. Turn left into the grass, follow the flagman, welcome to Oshkosh. And it just like, it makes your heart smile when they give you like, welcome to Oshkosh. You get into the grass, and the flagmen, the EAA flagmen, they're volunteers. Some are Civil Air Patrol, some are EAA volunteers. They have to know where you're going, because this place is huge. It's like, you know, multiple square miles, and planes can go anywhere. You can't talk to them. You can't, you know, mime, I want to go there, I want to go there. You know, it just doesn't work. So you have to show them a sign. And the Notam tells you what signs to use for, you know, what types of camping, parking, or wherever you want to go. We were parking at GAC for the first night, so we held up a sign that says GAC. They say, you know, write it down on a piece of paper. You know what I've found? Pieces of paper, you open up the windows, they end up flying all over the place and whatnot, and it's hard. One time going to Oshkosh, I wasn't fully prepared and I didn't have a paper printed out, and I was eating breakfast, you know, on a plate the day before at the hotel. Oh gee, I need a Sharpie, I need a sign. Put it on a plate, and look at this. This thing is not gonna get blown around. it holds up. So this is the way I go now.
It's a little gray area where what kind of sign we're supposed to make. So everyone knew Sling Island because it's, everyone knows Sling. So they didn't really say anything. They were like, oh, Sling Island, sure, right over here. It worked out perfectly. No, I was excited. Yeah, I'm not someone who gets nervous, but I get like real excited for stuff. I was hoping for the wing rock, hoping to land on the dot. I was excited for all that stuff. I took it as like a fun challenge, And yeah, it was cool to know them like on my first time at Oshkosh. That was the fear, I guess, is like, oh, not nailing either one of those. I would have been bummed.
We talked about it a little bit on the ground, like, do we want to fly to Oshkosh in formation or not? Because that's kind of like a move that takes on a little bit of extra risk, and it could be unnecessary risk, and you don't want to be the person who's taking extra risk at Oshkosh. But we talked it over, we pre-briefed what could go wrong. I felt it was actually not dangerous at all because it's a 150-foot wide runway, and we practiced doing a kind of a formation landing the night before, so I think we were okay. But yeah, first time formation landing, it was a lot of fun.
I think the best advice is to come in with someone else because that's a huge help. It's kind of chaotic and there's a lot of multitasking, and the biggest thing is looking for traffic on the Fisk Arrival. There's just so many planes. Any video you watch, you'll constantly hear the same thing. They say, look outside for traffic. If you don't see any, look again, because there's guaranteed a plane there or multiple planes. To be paying attention to your altitude, your airspeed, your spacing, and look for traffic, it's really beneficial to have someone else with you. Like going alone, it'd be tough. It'd be like a lot of extra work, and you'd probably be a little more nervous. So I would say definitely bring someone with you, and it's way more fun anyways. But also be ready to adapt. Just know that you're probably gonna have to do something that's maybe not where you were expecting, or just non-standard, and that's fine. Just be ready to adapt. Be ready for anything that's coming. Be flexible.
And I would say definitely there are parts of the Notam that talk about holding procedures. Be prepared to do that. So figure out how to hold, where to hold, and it's in the Notam, page 9. And also, be prepared to do a go around. Be prepared to know what to do if you're not going to hit your dot, if there's traffic on the runway that you're overflying. Be prepared to make decisions on the fly. You can always go around. And when you go around, air traffic control is wonderful. They'll fit you right in. And they'll usually fit you right in the downwind. And yeah, you'll get to do the landing again.
So don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It really helps us with our channel. We really appreciate it.
Do you always get one more clap?
That's 2.
Okay, I'll take it. Okay.
I look like a kindergartner.
It's not